Right, that's better. I think I've managed to get everybody now.
Has your inbox gone as crazy as mine lately?
Okay, we're ready to vote.
We are to chair, yes.
Apologies for absence. Are there any?
I think Councillor O'Neill's going to be unavailable today. It was he used a general apology for the week, so I think
He's
yes.
not on this committee, Martin.
No, it's not.
Right. No, you're quite right. He left in July. I beg your pardon. So in that case, no.
Declarations of interest? None. Minutes of the last meeting or the previous meeting on the 4th of December. It's in the package.
Yeah,
All happy with that?
yeah.
Item number 4, outstanding actions from previous meeting. Covered most of those, haven't we? Actions. Okay, Austrian Working Group. I think most of these have been completed.
They have, Chair. I mean, there's the one for the clerk, which is the grant review, which is an agenda item. In any case, the Lotus, there's another one, so that's completed. I think that's it, really.
Budget monitoring reports. You happy with those? Is there anything you want to highlight on those, Kerry?
Not for me, unless anybody's got any
No,
questions.
that's all right. Item number 6, consider the review of the grants policy. I think Kerry might like to speak on this. Grants
Okay. The review has come about from a recommendation in the. Sorry, there's a really bad echo as well. It's come about from an internal audit recommendation that's been carried forward on our internal audit recommendations for the last 2 years. Upon doing the review, it became apparent that we didn't have any criteria for anything in between 5,000 and 10,000. I know it's so off-putting, isn't it?
We haven't got an echo our end. I don't know what it might
be.
be.
Turn you off in the Mumbles Community Council office when you're talking, Kerry, perhaps?
I don't know. I think it may be, and I'll have to go down through this with Ian again. Ian, on the actual, your taskbar at the bottom.
Yeah.
And you've got a speaker.
Yeah.
You need to put that sound up on that speaker because we're coming through the speaker on the TV.
Yeah. Okay. It's fine. Click on the mic at the bottom again. Might close it. There we are. Yeah. Doesn't like that, does it? Make off those. Sorry, it doesn't seem to.
Is it so?
Not online, no. What is that playing through the whole screen?
Screen is the computer, yeah?
Yes. Well, it's this little badge here, yeah.
Should we try muting the room while you speak, Kerry, and see if that helps?
Yeah, try
Yeah,
that.
can do.
Press that.
Yeah, just, yeah.
Can you still hear me okay? In the room, yeah? No? Yeah, okay, thank you. So as I was saying, this was a review that came about from the internal audit recommendations, and it became clear upon doing the review that we didn't have any criteria in place for when we're awarding £5,001 to 999 £999 in grant funding, and also I've implemented a scoring criteria into the draft document. All the proposed changes on the document are highlighted in yellow. I'm happy to take any questions on that if that's okay. Right, Ian, you'll need to unmute the room because I can't hear if there's any questions.
It was me that got my hand up first, I think. Yes, that's a fun oversight, isn't it? That we didn't have any criteria between £5,000 and £10,000. So I think I've been reflecting on the fact that our amount available for grants has obviously gone down will go down from the 1st of April. To that end, I would just suggest that we remove 1.1, because that's from way back in Tim Bull did the first review of this, didn't he? Do you remember that? That's his line. So we get.
Oh, yes.
But also, perhaps we also need to consider writing into this some changes in the way that we like the logistics of assessing applications. Because if we've only got £25,000 for the year, and like this evening we've got one application on there that's for £5,000, are we giving people fair crack at the whip? We just run it on a rolling monthly basis like we have so far? Or do we need to say quarterly, that there'll be quarterly deadlines? We have tried in the past, I think it might even say it in this, like if you're applying for a recurring grant, we said it had to be in by October, I think it was, so that it's the budget for the next year. So I think there are some ways we've tried to do that in the past, and I just think maybe we need to, now that we've only got £25,000 in, could we also write that in? Oh, and my minor additional point was going to be, again, in terms of the logistics, can we have it so that applications don't come to this meeting unless officers are satisfied that they meet the criteria around bank accounts, completely filled in application, all of that, because we spend so long discussing applications that aren't even complete sometimes. So
well, I think that was the general intention anyway, to do that. I believe Diane's going to be doing it. Kerry?
Yeah, so if I could just come in there and I'll explain to the committee, what we've actually done is that we've implemented a tracking system now on all applications that come in. So Diana's logging when they come in, she's checking them to the current policy to ensure that we've received all the documentation we need from the applicant. And if we haven't, she's going back to the applicant to tell them exactly what we're missing. And then obviously they're only coming forward to committee once we've got all the information from them. If this committee then decides to make a recommendation either way, Diane is then tracking those recommendations, also tracking the recommendations through full council when the payment has been made, and also then chasing them back up for their report after they've had the grant, because that was the criteria of our policy that we receive these reports, and to date we haven't received any on the grants that we've made. So Diane is actively chasing all of them in for us as well at the moment.
The actual policy though. No. Any other points? Carrie?
Hi, yeah. Oh. I was thinking about the various different tiers of funding. And my thinking is that we can kind of maybe split them slightly differently. I mean, we've had it at £1,000 now for 6 years, and with inflation and everything else, I'm just wondering whether we might be better to have that first tier up to perhaps say 2,500. rather than just to 1,000, and then we maybe take the next one, you know, 2,500, I don't know, to, I mean, I'm not, somehow I feel we could have 3 rather than 4 different bits. I'm not quite sure about the rest, but I do feel that the top one, I think we have to be really strict about the fact, particularly as we've only got a smaller amount next year, that we cannot accept any larger grants over £10,000 for this coming financial year, and remind people that if they do have large grants, they do have to put them in by the 31st of October, because we can't consider them on an ongoing basis. I just feel with only 25,000, we get, you know, what is the point in us discussing, you know, grants of over £10,000, because we won't have the money to approve them anyway. It's just wasting people's time.
Well, yeah, on the point of wasting people's time, I think we could certainly refresh a document or refresh our website online saying, although you're free to apply, you know, the budget is, you know, very unlikely to approve these, because you never know what could come in, right? I think it's it's still nice for people to sort of reach out to us. It might be a good opportunity for them to do so. So just on to the point, I think Rebecca makes a good point of, if it's only 25,000 to do it quarterly makes more sense. Otherwise you could use it all up in the first quarter, and if we split that into, and we don't have to be militant about splitting it into 4 quarters, the budget, but we could aim to do so. I think that makes more sense. It also takes a bit of pressure off the committee, and also sifts out some of the not so good. It might make it more competitive, rather. Yeah.
I still feel that it's pointless people putting in grants. I mean, it's clearly they must be received by 31st of October. So why are we saying you're not complying with the requirements, but put them in anyway? It just seems pointless. You know, let's make it clear that anything over 10,000 has to be considered for the following year's budget, and to make sure people actually, you know, think about it and actually spend the time putting something together that can actually be discussed and then considered whether it's you know, should be something within the budget.
Yeah, the other thing I just wanted to just to finish on was that although Diane is sifting, you know, there's a better procedure now for going through the grant applications. Maybe we should put that in the policy as well. What the policy is, you know. So what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Before I bring Clary in, I would remind you that this is a review of the grants policy, and you know, there is scope to make adjustments to it. Kerry.
Yeah, so just to the 2 points that Will has raised. Will, the policy that is currently on the website is quite clear when people are applying for funding what we expect them to provide documentation wise. The issue that we've got is that SurveyMonkey allows people to skip questions and not answer them or provide documentation. So this is where we're finding that we're chasing things up. However, if you recall the budget meeting, we've actually just decided to get rid of SurveyMonkey. So we now need to write a new application form that will be added to our website that can be downloadable. So again, there's scope to change in there to say on the application form, please ensure you supply all necessary documentation as specified in the policy. And the second point I was going to make is that some councils even consider grant applications just twice a year, in the middle of the financial year and towards the end of the financial year. So again, it's entirely up to this committee what they want to recommend, which way they want to go forward. We can't hear you, you're on mute, I think, Chair.
Yeah, try again.
Angela?
Hi, sorry, I was just asking when they go to fill in the forms to try to get a grant, is there or are we able to set up so that if they fill in the form that they could then, if they need to add a supporting document or attachment, that they can come back to it at a later date. So they've done some of it and then they can come back to it later or tomorrow to make it easier for them. Because maybe they're going through SurveyMonkey because they haven't got all the stuff, and then they can't, you know, it might be, I don't know because I haven't tried it myself, is it a lot of work for them to do and fill in X, Y and Z, and so therefore can they come back to it like you would, I suppose, a CV and uploading documents online, you can save the account and come back to it, but not a CV and a job application.
Okay, thank you. Kerry?
Yep, so just to come back to Angela, so at the moment I'm not too sure how SurveyMonkey works, but moving forward from April we won't have it anymore. It will be a downloadable application form that's on our website. So obviously, as you just said, you can fill that in and save it and go back to it at any point, and then just make sure you're supporting and providing the supporting documents when you submit.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say that over the years we've had quite a lot of complaints about the format of the SurveyMonkey form. You can't go back to it. You hit submit and you don't even know what you hit submit on. And this is actually a really good opportunity for us to make it the user experience much better. Just in terms of views on how regularly to consider applications, I think if we were to go from every month to twice a year straight away, some of our applicants would really struggle because, mentioning no names, we do see quite a lot of late doors applications come in for events that are like 6 weeks away, and so I think going down to quarterly to start with for a year and see how that impacts on the sorts of applications we get, whether it's having the intended impact of giving us a chance to get really robust applications to consider at committee, and then we might want to go down even further than that, but I would start at quarterly myself.
Sounds reasonable to me. Well,
yeah, I'd agree, but I'd do it from the start of a financial year, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Rather than calendarly, yeah.
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 So that would be April.
Calendarly, is that a word?
No. I wasn't going to say anything.
It's not like you.
Okay. Do you see any issue with that if we did it quarterly, Kerry? No? Okay. And the start of the financial year? Yeah. Okay.
Is that a recommendation, Chair?
Yeah.
It's a recommendation which will go for ratification at full council.
Right, thank you.
Thank you for doing this review, Kerry.
Was that the only recommendation, Chair, or was there more? Was there more recommendations?
I don't know. Are there more recommendations?
Just a new point, if I may.
Yeah.
So the last redraft of this, the addition of the Community Council strategic outcomes from the community plan was really intended to make sure that anything we're funding is in line with what we do. Good to see that we've now got a scoring criteria on it, but I wonder whether alongside, it says governance, all applications must score at least 2 points on governance. And I would say they probably also need to score at least 2 points on fits well with community council strategic aims, because if you only score 1 point, you don't meet them, which means we will be funding things that don't meet our aims. So that would be my only other suggestion, is to add that in, that it has to score at least 2 on fits well with community council strategic aims.
Which one was that? That was at the, was that highlighted in yellow, that one? No.
4.3, just at the bottom of 4.3 there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, our strategic aims are quite broad, so it should be possible for us to still fund a diverse range of things that way.
Okay.
Kerry has her hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did make a recommendation that we might want to review the threshold, but that just seems to have got lost.
Yeah, I'm not overly worried about that, to be honest. Can look at it if you want, but
No, sorry. We've still got TBC in the application, the link to the application for medium to large. I wonder whether we just use, now that we're moving everything to quarterly anyway, do we just use the same link for small and medium?
Yeah.
And kind of be sensible about if it's further towards the 5,000, then we're looking for something that is longer term or larger scale events. And if it's closer towards the 1,000, that's, you know, that's fine for the short term one-off stuff. Kerry's going to tell me no.
Kerry?
No, I'm not going to tell you no. I was just going to say I was just envisaging one form for whatever size application you're applying for, because I don't want to be devising four different forms and having 4 forms on the website. We can just have a box that says please state the amount you're applying for up to what our maximum threshold is.
I think as long as it's clear.
We can't hear you, Chair.
Pardon? She couldn't hear you. She thought you were talking.
No, I'm not talking.
Right. No, I just think, you know, it should be clear from the guidance that they understand the requirements of the different levels. So perhaps that should be a box at the top that you tick. Are you applying for a small grant, a medium grant, a large grant? Tick them first, and then you know they will then be aware that there are different requirements dependent on which level of funding they're applying for. There should be a way of doing that on the form.
Well, you can have that. It's pretty obvious, surely, that they know which grant they're going to be going for.
No, it's not obvious, as we know from previously. You know, I mean, how many times, you know, have we had the wrong information, lacking information, people applying for amounts that are not relevant to what they're asking for? I'm afraid, you know, we might think it's obvious, but the clearer and simpler you can make it, the more chance there is of us getting it right the first time.
This is why we're having a review. You know, most of the pertinent questions are there on the review. Anyway, if you want to have a tick box at the top saying small, medium or large, well, that's up to you. That's up to the committee.
Seems a very simple suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting bogged down with the detail there. I think that's really it. However, the officers and Kerry want to do things that makes their life easier and easier on stuff like that. I don't think we need to really get involved in the nitty-gritty.
I thought that's what we were doing, but if we're not, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think that's fine. The other thing, Becky just mentioned that 1.1 on the recommendation and 1.1 be removed to that. But
the 2018. Yeah, that should come out.
And what was the other one? You did mention something else as well.
The scoring, isn't it, on Fitzwell Community Council strategic aim should be 2. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Okay, is that a recommendation, Chair? We all happy to?
Yeah, we all agree with that?
Yeah.
Good.
I think that's so good.
Right. So it goes forward to full council now. Item number 7, last 2 years of audit recommendations. Kerry, you can pick up on that, please.
Yeah, so these are the audit recommendations that have been received from your internal audit that should have been worked on in the subsequent financial year. As you can see, a lot of the recommendations are carried forward from one year into the next. We're at a point where we need to be making progress on these. So I've tabled them into a document for you to say where the progress is on them, and this is just so we can get it minuted through the committee, and when the internal auditor comes he can see that we are actually working on his recommendations. I will bring back further updates to other meetings of this committee as well. There are two things I have queried with the internal auditor, and one being the use of depreciation on town and community council assets, because the guidance on One Voice Wales website, which is called the Practitioner's Guide for Local Governance and Accountability, states that we do not need to include depreciation. So I've asked for clarification on that. And the other one was, it was just unclear from me whether in regards to documentation and explanations that should be displayed on our website, whether he's expecting some sort of internal explanation on how the precept works and budget, or whether there was some sort of standard or legal legislation that he thought we should be displaying. So once I've had those clarified, because he's on annual leave until Wednesday, I will bring them back to a later committee meeting for updating as well. Sorry, Chair, I don't know if any of you are speaking in the room, because Ian has got you on mute when I'm speaking. So when I stop speaking, I don't know if anybody is speaking afterwards. Sorry.
I mean, no, she spoke then, so that's. But no.
Here are things. Item number 8, financial risk assessment.
Yep, so this is our corporate risk assessment as a community council. This was one of the recommendations from the auditor, that we needed to implement on the risk assessment who was responsible for the actions in a time frame. So that's now being completed. However, if there are any items that you feel need to be added, quite happy to add them in. This is in draft format for committee to obviously approve recommendations to full council. It's just really good practice to get it minuted through before the end of the financial year that you've undertaken your risk assessment.
Yeah, just on the audit committee at Swansea Council for my sins, I think, for a couple of years, and that might be worth just comparing. I don't know if you've seen that before, but that's quite an interesting document.
What document, sorry?
The financial audit risk assessment. I'll try and dig out the chair's name for audit. Who would it be? Paxton?
Governance audit. Hasn't it got a lay chair?
Yes.
Do you know?
No, she finished.
It will be published on their website, won't it, with in one of their meetings, packs maybe.
But there's some really good stuff on there, because obviously we went over it for years and just improving it all the time. There's got to be a lot of stuff which is relevant. So, and it's traffic lighted, you know, for high risk being red and low risk being green, 1 to 5. It's good. It's a good document. So worth having a look at that. That's my only comment. I will have a look over these in more detail though as meeting goes on.
Okay, we move on. Do you want?
Yeah, can I just ask how you envisage this being used, Kerry? Like, will it come to council on a regular basis? Or I'm just thinking, like, it's great us having sight of what the risks are, because I'm already looking at these and thinking, oh yeah, some of those would apply to stuff that I do as a community councillor, but for all councillors to have sight.
Yep, so there are dates on there for when things need to be implemented, and they are traffic lighted on there as well already, just maybe not as bright red and bright green. And one of the internal audit recommendations were that we review it more than just an annual basis. I think he recommended that we review it on a quarterly basis. So what we can do is update you on what actions have been achieved by the date each quarter.
Do you mean it at council?
Say that again, sorry.
Do you mean update to committee or update to council?
It would be an update to committee first, and then that would go as an update to council as a recommendation.
Just think it's worth it going to council more regularly, because it's really important that we're reading it, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. No more questions? We'll move on to the first grant application. It's item number 9. Rhondda Symphony Orchestra. Any comments? comments? Are you hearing me all right? Strange not to have a comment. Are we all agreed that we approve to full council the Rhondda Symphony Orchestra grant? Are we all agreed?
Should we just double check how much money we have left in this year's pot?
Yes, we have enough money to do it.
For this evening? And we've got one more meeting.
I can tell you exactly if you just bear with me.
Yacht Club on 1300, is it?
650.
The Yacht Club one has gone up. If you look at the revised submission.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Thank you. We're dealing with the Rhondda one at the moment.
Yes, I'm aware of that, but we should be looking at them in the round in terms of how much money we've got left, rather than just approving the first one because it happens to be first on the agenda.
Yes, thank you. The question was just asked by Rebecca. Have we got money for this? And I said, yes, I have got the figures. As requested, the balance remaining on the small and medium grants budget in the current year is £16,600. So my question was, are you all in favour of the grant application?
Sorry, Chair. Do we have any more information on any of the 3 grants listed on the agenda? The Rhondda Symphony Orchestra, the Mumbles Yacht Club, or the Yoga? I don't seem to have any more information on any of those.
They're in the pack.
Chair, if I could just come in there, I emailed out an email to all councillors today that had it came in 2 parts, and you had all the associated documents in a PDF there, or they are on the in Teams on the folder underneath the files for in the date of the meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. I have the draft grants one here, and the other 2.
So well, Angela's just checking that. Can I ask, there doesn't seem to be any indication of how much they expect to be making in tickets. Because if they're going to be selling tickets, then one would assume that there should be some income generated from that.
Well, can I say firstly that it's a very expensive performance to put on, and I don't think they're going entering into it on the basis of profit, but I'm sure they'll probably prove to be very popular in the community because it is pandering to the needs and wishes that supporting Welsh heritage, not only in poetry but also in music. So I really don't see that that's a relevant question as to how many tickets they hope to sell. As many as possible, I would have thought.
No.
Well, I'm asking it because it should be included in what, they're asking us for money. The assumption is that, are they going to actually be able to cover their costs with tickets? Do they need this extra money? If so, what do they need it for? It's just a simple, we'd ask it for anyone else. It shouldn't make any difference whether it's, this organisation or any other. If they're doing it to, for a paying audience, then there should be some indication as to how much money they expect to get from the tickets. They've done it loads of times before. They must know roughly how many tickets they're likely to sell. So I don't think it's an unreasonable question.
Yeah, so I think it's a reasonable question. I think what we could do is recommend it for approval to council, pending the answer to this question, which is they're saying they want to put £1,500 in from their own organisation's resources. Do we take that to mean that they're anticipating £1,500 in revenue from ticket sales? If so, that comes to about £7.50 a ticket, because the reason I have this question in my head is that if we're funding it to the tune of £1,000, I don't then want tickets to be 30 quid and unaffordable for people who live in different parts of the area. So if all of that assumption is correct, then I'm very happy to recommend it. I think it's a reasonable question for a number of reasons. We want to make sure that this grant is actually going to cover what it needs to cover, but also we want to make sure that it's still an accessible opportunity for everybody.
Thank you.
Well, the total cost of the project is £3,000. They're asking for a grant of 1,000. They're receiving £500 from TE Kerth. And they're also putting in £1,500 of their own money. So,
Well, should we? Sorry,
my figures, that seems to be it.
We recommend approval subject to the information provided us on.
Yes, thank you.
I suppose that's fine.
I think it's only fair that we know, as Rebecca said, how much the tickets are going for, you know, and is it going to be something that actually our residents will be able to afford to pay? If we're giving them the money for it, then, you know, the expectation should be, it says in our grant guidance, it should be of benefit to the whole community.
It's only a small question. I'm sure we can ask it.
Yes, we'll ask the question. Thank you.
Thank
you. Happy with that?
Yeah. She's got a hand up.
Right.
She's got a hand up, Chair.
Angela?
Sorry, it's an old one.
Okay. Item number 10, Mumbles Yacht Club grant application. There has been a change on this, as has been pointed out by Kerry, which we already knew. Anyone got any comments on this one before I say anything?
I could jump in, Chair.
Yeah.
So they made contact with myself and other ward members and a couple of other local groups already. They've been in touch with Swansea Council. So the original plan was to redevelop the yacht club, exploring the possibility of potentially doing it the other side of the road, which is where they currently have some storage units and there's a council toilet. So it's very exploratory at this stage, that side of it, that thing. So I don't think it's worth the community getting too involved at this stage, because obviously there's no plans to see or anything, but this is a topographical survey. It was just for that one site and now it's 2 sites. That's why the price has gone up. Personally, I think it's a good use of money. It's like a very big project that could bring a lot of benefit to the community if it goes ahead. The team that are running it are very motivated. They're very organised. So I don't think it's one of those things that'll go nowhere. I think whatever happens, something will happen. And this is what we're here for. So yeah, all in support of that.
Rebecca?
It sounds on the face of it like a really exciting, the beginning of a really exciting project. I guess I'm a little bit nervous that I understand why, but we are being asked for the full amount for this stage. I appreciate that £1,300 in the scheme of a £1 million project is a drop in the ocean, but really at this stage they're not saying that it's definitely going to be that. So that is not really in keeping with our grant policy, except for in exceptional circumstances. I guess I'm also just wondering, maybe as ward members, kind of what the appetite is from Swansea Council to support. There's reference to Jeff Bacon there, but We don't want to be getting involved in something that could take, you know, years and years to.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, this is a recorded meeting, right? So it's a bit tricky to go into too much detail, but what I understand is that they've spoken to, or Tracy McNulty, who's head of cultural services, as you know, she's run her eye over it. I don't think by any means she's not been got down to the detail. Jeff's had a brief look at it. I don't think corporate property have been contacted yet, and they're the ones who would be the ones that would obviously agree or disagree with it. I don't think, I know Jamie Rubridge is kind of been emailed about it as well. So I think basically the people that have been contacted with it so far don't seem to have an issue with it. In fact, think it's potentially worth looking at, because the council, as you know, are trying to offload the responsibility of running toilets. And this could be one way of, you know, the club would take on the responsibility for the toilets potentially if it was to go the other side of the road. So that's a benefit to the council. So that's one of the reasons they're willing to look at it. The second is those sheds at the other side of the road are currently rented by the club anyway. So that, and they've got a lease on those anyway. So it's not really that much of a different footprint. And those sheds are quite far off that wall. Basically, I think it's not been hit by a brick wall. You know, sometimes some projects get run at the flagpole and knocked back straight away, and it's not been one of those. So I think it's got enough legs to explore. It's by no means a guarantee that it will happen there, but you know, you've got to have a look at these things, and you have to do the topo first to do it. So, you know,
It strikes me that it could be one where this is like an initial punt, but ultimately we, no pun intended, get it? But we might want to be a little bit more closely involved as the project develops. You know, I'm thinking of other,
yeah, they're coming to present.
yeah, other clubs like the Bowls Club, etc., where we have tried in the past and not been hugely successful in trying to, you know, be a bit more of a proactive partner. Because you know, we don't want to see the yacht club go, and this application says that they are currently not financially viable. So we do want to support where we can, but I think yeah, we would probably want to be a little bit more closely involved.
Definitely, yeah.
I think it's great that we've got an opportunity to be ahead of the game and join with the NYC in developing, which is a popular venue at the moment as far as the water sports, but that can be improved considerably. As far as the finances go, on the information that we've had from NYC, it's very low. So the £650 for the initial grant application was for the yacht club, but their aspirations are now to acquire, I would assume, a lease of the land opposite the yacht club, which incorporates the public toilets and some of the storage, metal storage containers, and they would therefore have a new building. So I think I wouldn't wish to be putting a dampener on it at all, but I do agree that we need more information as things evolve. If we're happy to go with the grant, we need to know that City are behind it.
I know they've got a meeting with City before our full council, so maybe that we could ask them if they could, if Jeff Bacon, who's head of property services, could say, oh, we need to email them saying, look, we understand that there's loads more detail here, but we're about to admit a grant. If you see anything blazingly obvious of why we shouldn't, could you please let us know? Maybe we could just do that.
Yeah, support that.
I think it would be prudent to do it. Yeah. Are you happy with this, Kerry? We're thinking of getting a little bit more information on it. When's the next full council meeting?
Yes, 3 weeks.
So we've got plenty of time there.
And you know, they are a major institution in the village, and they've never applied for a grant to my knowledge before. So you know,
well, there's no issue. You know, I'm more than happy for them to have the grant. It's just that we have had issues with City in the past, and you know, they've been slow in coming forward with disposing of certain pieces of land
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that'd be up to them, I suppose, wouldn't it?
well, the thing is, you know, we're asked, they want to survey land and we don't know if they're going to be approved by City of Portland.
That's what we should ask Jeff, yeah.
So that's what we'll do then.
Angela's got a hand up, Jeff.
Angela?
No, it's only looking through the grant applications. There's quite a few have skipped. They've skipped a lot of the both NYC and the next one, the yoga. They seem to have skipped some of the questions. So that automatically warrant them out.
Well, we haven't adopted the policy as of yet. So
some of the questions don't need to be answered if you're only applying for a smaller amount of money. The things like providing business plans and things are only for larger grants.
Okay, fair enough.
But they should have provided their bank statements, which presumably they haven't.
So are we going to defer this then, or do you want to?
No, I think
No.
we can
I don't mind. I'm happy to support it.
recommend it subject to an email reply from Jeff before council.
Okay.
I think it could be reasonable to ask for copies of our last 3 bank statements before the next full council meeting. Because a key part of why we're awarding this in full is that they're saying they're about to go under. So we should ask for evidence of that. I think that would be reasonable.
Okay. So we'll add that to it, Ian, please.
Okay,
The bank statements.
3 months.
Yeah.
Right. Angela?
No, sorry, just before saying I'd support it. I think it's fine now.
All right. Okay, so are we recommended that we grant this subject to A, the 3 bank statements, and B, written confirmation or dialogue with City? Okay?
Yeah.
All agreed on that? Do you agree with that, Kerry? Carrie? Yeah, okay, thanks. It's unanimous then. Item number 11, Sunshine Lotus Yoga grant application for £5,000 support yoga classes within the community. Any comments on this?
Chair, yeah, I made my feelings well known about this application. I don't really want to go over it again, so I think I don't see anything that's materially different to any time that I've commented in the past. So keeping an open mind to the debate, but
Yeah. Anyone got any comments? Rebecca?
Well, I suppose what's materially different is that clearly they've got the message about all the different bits of paper that we've asked for, because they've all come in one go this time, which is nice to see. I wasn't at the meeting where this committee decided to recommend to full council that it be refused, but if I had been, I would have completely disagreed with that recommendation. I have had multiple different sources, you know, very credible sources talk to me about the impact of these classes. So just to reiterate again, this is not a for-profit organisation, so they're not like charging for classes elsewhere and then they're hoping to get a grant for these ones to run for free. It's a very specific type of class that attracts people who, in many cases, aren't otherwise getting out the front door. It's supporting their health, you know, physical and mental well-being, also reducing social isolation. The Mumbles local area coordinator is one of those sources. She speaks really powerfully about the impact it's having for some of the people that she works with. And it's a preventative, you know, we're supporting people to be involved in something that ultimately means they're not having to escalate their need for care through social care or through the health service. So I personally would have spoken very strongly in favour of this application, and I'm glad that I now have the opportunity to do so. In terms of, I know that, again, this is one where, from what I can see, they're applying for £5,000 and the funding invested from their own sources is the management of the project, which, you know, won't be insignificant. But if this is one where committee/council would consider it if it was a lesser percentage of the total amount that we were funding, then I think, you know, having been through this mill now several times in a row, there probably are other sources that we could look to for a percentage of the cost. But I think, you know, it is one that MCC should consider.
Okay, Angela.
Hi there. I guess it's I too wasn't. It's repeating, isn't it?
Oh,
I wasn't on the original meeting when this was discussed either, but whilst it's not for profit, I guess it still supports the freelancer in question, in that it helps to build her own brand for when she does other stuff. And I'm assuming that they may work for other companies. I'm not sure if they do or not. No. But £5,000 does seem like a lot of money. I'm not sure whether all the residents locally would be in support of that.
Carrie?
Yes, just to say I agree, as you well know, having argued very strongly for this, to no avail, unfortunately, in 2 meetings. You know, everything that Rebecca says is absolutely true. And no, Angela, she doesn't build her own brand to go off and do private work. She is a not-for-profit company. There is no commercial work.
Just ask.
Oh,
We've
they
lost
gone?
them. Don't
Where have
know.
they gone?
Ian must have pressed the wrong button.
Yeah, instead of turning this. Oh, they're back. We lost you there.
Have they gone?
They've come back, but we can't hear them. Or maybe they're not speaking. I don't know. Can anyone hear anything?
Unless
Can
they've
somebody
got their
speak?
microphone. Oh, they are there. They are there. They are there. Ian?
We can't hear you.
They've gone again, and Angela's gone on the.
And Angela's gone sideways.
Sideways. Oh, there she's back now. They're back.
Why
Right, we can hear you now.
Still recording, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be fun to watch. Honestly, you could do a sitcom on MCC, couldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we're recording has started.
You ever watched that Fly on the Wall Olympics? It's like the Olympics. You know what's that on? I always think the.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There you go.
Okay.
Right. Shall I bring Kerry in first before you?
Yeah.
Shall I?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, we're going to bring Kerry in now.
Thank you. I just thought it might be worth mentioning that the supporting information that they've provided, they have provided bank statements and obviously an income and expenditure account. And out of the £10,000 that was granted from the National Lottery, it appears that 6,000 has been used to pay the instructors' salaries. So for myself, out of the 5,000 that they're asking for us, how much of that would be going towards salaries? It's just a question for myself. Sorry, Chair, I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's largely one of the questions I had as well. Although it's obviously a not-for-profit, when you have a not-for-profit business, you can still pay yourself through that business, as opposed to, again, one of the concerns that I and others raised before was the fact that this competes with other local yoga studios. So although you're putting it through a not-for-profit business, it's still paying someone's wages, which is still competing with a local yoga studio. Now, I understand that what people are saying is that it doesn't compete with a local yoga studio because these people using this would otherwise not use it. But, you know, my argument to that would be, where do we draw the line at what we pay for as a community council? As I think, you know, it is a tricky one. Obviously, people are really enjoying it and they benefit from it. But the thing I worry about is, if we start funding yoga, do we then start funding Pilates? Do we then start funding people's five-a-side, walking, rugby, you know, everything? Where do we stop, you know? So that's my problem with this application as it was before.
Okay, Rebecca?
I personally think it's okay for someone not to do something for free. Like, if she wasn't being paid out of grant money, she'd have to get a job and she wouldn't be able to do this. So I think it's okay that money goes towards salary. And I think if we start to apply this logic to almost everything that MCC does and funds through our other mechanisms, are we going to shut down Coffee with Friends because it's jeopardising local bakeries? Are we going to shut down Family Fun Days because it's jeopardising soft play parks and the leisure centre? No, we're not. We want to do things that are inclusive of our communities and are supporting people's well-being, are reducing isolation, and this is just another one of those things. So I personally think that it's fair enough to ask the question, what percentage of this is going towards salary? But I guess the other costs will be renting the space. She's probably already got the kit, so the other costs are going to be low by definition of the sort of activity that it is. And I think if we want someone to run this sort of thing for the well-being of our community, then it's okay that she wants to be paid for it.
Right, Angela?
I mean, it's a lovely thing. Like, don't get me wrong, it's lovely to be able to offer people yoga, but it would be lovely to offer people a jacuzzi and a sauna for free. You've got to go to Castle Saunas to pay for that. I'd love to have access to a sauna for free. So where are we going to stop with it? It's lovely to have yoga for free. I'd love to have yoga for free, Pilates for free, gym for free. But I do worry with that just the floodgates for it all. I mean, some people may not be happy that we're spending £5,000 of, what was it, a £25,000 budget on yoga. I don't know. It's a lovely thing.
I have offered committee the opportunity to suggest an alternative amount. I'll just point that out. No one's taken me up on that offer.
You have got a ward budget as well.
Exactly.
Able to use.
Just saying, I think this is something that MCC should.
Carrie?
Yes, it's an odd sort of justification. I mean, we've just said we're quite happy to pay £1,000 for the Rhondda Symphony Orchestra, you know, which will attract a very, very small section of our community. And that somehow is okay. But something that will actually meet the needs of extremely isolated older people who have significant mental health problems and, you know, who otherwise perhaps would be completely isolated, then we're saying, oh, we shouldn't be doing that because who knows where it might end? Well, who knows where it might end with symphony orchestras? We could have a dozen of them queuing up to be paid. You know, it's just a nonsense argument to use.
Well, very kind of you to say that, but as far as the symphony orchestra is concerned, I think that's fulfilling a very worthwhile thing. Always hearing about the Welsh language and the Welsh culture, and you can't get any more of that than by putting on such a concert. and the harpist alone. She was the harpist to the royal family. You know, it carries its fair bit of kudos, that event. Now, as to numbers, we've already touched on the ticket angle, but I would have thought that it would appeal to a considerable number of people in the locality. Now, looking at the grant application for Sunshine Yoga, it's £5,000, so it's an awful lot of money compared to the Rhondda one. And as to the numbers, it's pretty limited number of people for the £5,000.
It is not just a one-off. Chair, if I can say, you know, Will is right that we have ward budget. Sarah and I have talked about it prior to expecting this application to come in, I will say. £5,000 is beyond probably what we would be able to cover with all of our other commitments to that ward budget, but we would be able to cover the half. So if committee was minded to say we want to support this, but we want to, you know, stay in line with our policy of only funding up to 50%, then I personally think I've got to go through all the proper procedures, but I think it would be worth making that application on the basis that then Sarah and I can continue, making that grant on the basis that then Sarah and I can continue that conversation with Sunshine Lotus. Please don't let the amount be a justification for throwing this out, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Do you want to come back on that, Will?
No, Chair, just move to vote, I think. Don't need to come back on that, I think. There's nothing.
So are we moving to a vote to agree half?
Yeah.
Well, it's a pity it didn't come in like that in the first instance. And we wouldn't have had all this discussion over it. But anyway, we'll move. We're going to, that's remains to be seen, isn't it? There is an opportunity for you to vote in favour or against it. The grant now being amended for £2,500. Does anyone want to put anything attached to that? Otherwise, I would raise the matter that we have refused health facilities for PTSD to previous groups in the beginning of the financial year. And there was a lot said about that as to its location. And then the applicant made it quite clear that they were prepared to move from Langland Beach or Underhill to West Cross or wherever else it was felt warranted it. But the application was still turned down. So before you vote, bear in mind on that one. You know, we should be consistent. Have we heard enough to grant it? That's up to you.
Can I just point out, on the same vein, we did approve money for chair yoga at the Austrian Centre. So, you know, if you're using precedent, we have one.
Yes, I am aware of the grant. I'm aware of that one. It was something in Rockers, I believe, but there have been a couple, but each one are based on their own merits. Thank you. All right, let's put it to a vote then. The grant application for £2,500 for.
Sorry, can I just make sure that we include in the minutes there with the other £2,500 being provided from the councillor's ward budget, please, just so that doesn't get lost. That's what you proposed, wasn't it, Rebecca?
Yeah, can we say for the minutes, provided that the other £2,500 is found from another source?
Yeah.
I'm happy that MCC want to protect themselves.
Bit of a difference. Another source. It's already in the application.
As I said, I will have to go through proper process in order to get that, you know, to get that sorted. It is a commitment that we can make, provided that we can go through that process. It's not why we're here. So yeah, I'm happy that the PC want to protect themselves, but you know, if they found it from another source, why would we stipulate, you know, which source it needs to be?
Okay. Right. Let's put it to a vote then. Those in favour? Those against?
3.
Yeah, 3 to 2. Okay. Okay. That's the full agenda now, isn't it? Only 11 points in.
That's it.
Okay.
Sharon? Yes. Shall I close the meeting? Shall I stop the recording, sorry?
Yes, please.
Bye all.
Bye.